welcome to the very first episode of the Fitness Network podcast. I'm really excited today. My first guest that I will be having on is none other than world-renowned coach Kim Oddo from BodyByO. Kim has been in the fitness industry and at the very top of his game for about the last 25 years. He has top athletes that can be accredited to his name, such as Angelica, 2 times Miss Bikini Olympia champion, Janet Leung, who was winner of the Arnold's in 2019. That's amongst many other top athletes. He also has figure girls, and he's had a female athlete in every single category at the Olympia. He also had, I think it was 3 out of the top 6 in the Arnold's this year in 2020. But basically I wanted to get Kim on because he is a coach that I've looked at for a long time, and I've respected him for all that time, even when I didn't really know what bikini was. So I wanted to ask him how he started in the industry and what his kind of experiences have been and things like that. So I hope you guys enjoy this first episode and you learn something from it. Please comment below and subscribe to this channel. Let me know if you want to hear anything more from Kim or any of my other guests coming up.
One of the things that I've tried to do with my career is combine the practicality of my background in competing and all the years I competed on stage, put that with the educational part and the knowledge part that I've learned through certifications and through book learning and things that I've done to knowledge-wise expand myself, so I could combine that with the practicality end of things and come up with a program and a way to work with my people using all the skills I can, hone all my skills in. So the stage and learning what I learned there with my training and everything I learned from a very early age to all the way up to what I'm currently doing, it's what helps me provide the best knowledge and the best input for each client that I work with.
So, how can you tell me when you first got into bodybuilding and what kind of got you into it?
It was back in the early, it was actually in the early 80s, because I had graduated from college, and like most people who have done any kind of college sports or anything, you're always looking for the next challenge. Yeah. And so obviously, not going on into professional sports or anything like that, you start to look for something to occupy your mind. So I just started getting into the weightlifting end of things. So I just started training. It was in Thibodaux, Louisiana, actually. And there was a really nice gym out there that, Tom LaRousse had put together. And that's back when Boyko was competing and Casey Viator was competing. So they were kind of guys I looked at because they were from Louisiana. Right. And so you kind of, backyard people you look up to. So I just started lifting and decided, okay, I'll do this. Within 6 months of, lifting at the gym, I'd already made up my mind. Okay, I want to do shows. So I just started gravitating over into wanting to, do competitive bodybuilding.
Yeah. And so then when you said you wanted to compete, did you find a coach for that?
Not really. I didn't use a coach until my last year of competing. I'd always done my own thing. Always. I never had I had a training partner. We would train together, and I would kind of help them along with helping myself. But I never had a coach until my last year of competing. And at that point, I just wanted to try something where I didn't try to monitor myself. I just would have somebody else, monitor me. And so I, hired a girl, Lisa Hitchens, that's out of Temecula, and she trained me for the last show that I did here. And it made it easier because I had always monitored myself and I had always done my own thing. But I'm glad that I taught myself the way I did, because coming up and working with, helping people train, for shows that were my training partners plus myself, it just educated me on what to do. It taught me how to work with people, and it taught me how to do things, learning how to manipulate nutrition, training, cardio, that whole spectrum.
Okay. So you learned all kind of nutrition then, or did you learn that at college before?
No, everything I learned was applied knowledge. And then from there, I started to do educational things like online courses. So I would do certification courses, or I would take an online course, because most college, unless it's sports driven, it's going to
Mm.
be more to clinical nutrition. So I learned more from reading books, Dr. Hatfield, and things like Keith Klein, and guys that were prominent down around those time that were nutritionists. I learned more from reading their books. Then I would look for online courses that I thought would be relevant
Yeah.
to work hand in hand with what I do. And then I married that into, getting certifications through ACSM, or different types of organizations, to where, okay, this is how I learn how to educate myself even more, to be better at what I do.
Yeah, of course. And so you said you were inspired to start shows by the bodybuilders that were around you in Louisiana, or did you see kind of other famous bodybuilders that made you want to do that?
No, I mean, when I first coming up, it was more just the enticement of training, because I didn't know anything about the sport, nothing.
Right.
I'm the type, if I'm gonna dive into something, I just dive into it. It's just what
Yeah.
happens. So I didn't know anything about it. I just was going to the gym and lifting with friends, and we would try to beat each other's bench press, or beat each other's squat, or we didn't really. And then as I got into it more, then I started learning more about the professionals at that time, Arnold, and Casey, and all those guys. And so then the more I learned about, who they were, Lee Labrada, guys like that, then I would go into, okay, who do they work with? So Lee
Right.
Labrada was working with Keith Klein at the time.
Yeah.
So I started to look at what Keith Klein did, and he's still around today. We've actually had clients, I've had clients out of Texas that have used Keith for certain things, and they trained with me for shows. And
Mm.
so it's kind of an honor to somebody you looked up to, that you
Yeah.
pattern yourself after, and then all of a sudden I've never met him personally, but you get to share thoughts on individuals and all. So it just, as I got more involved in things, then I started to learn more about who was out there, what they were doing, because like I said, back then it was Arnold, it was Franco, it was all the old timers that were really around, that you
Definitely.
just watched them and you try to learn that way.
But I mean, that's the golden age, really, isn't it? Around that time. So.
Oh, it was the simple, it wasn't, things were a lot simpler then. The mechanics were a lot simpler.
Mm.
So you didn't, we weren't able to progress as fast, because we didn't have all the technology that they have now. And I didn't start lifting till I was 24, 23, 24. That's when I started. I mean, yes, I did martial arts for years. I played baseball for years. I played football for years. I played soccer. If it was a sport, I did it. I didn't care what it was. I just wanted to do it. So you lift for certain things, but not really structured lifting like you do with bodybuilding. So, we didn't have the technology they have now. The machinery is so much better. Supplementation is so much better. We've learned, trust me, I've learned a lot over the course of years about nutrition.
Yeah.
And, all those mistakes, years that I made mistakes on myself and my training partner, you learn from that, and you go, okay, I remember what happened when I dieted a whole 12 weeks with no sodium, and
Oh.
you educate yourself, like, okay, don't do that again. That was brutal.
Yeah, but I mean that is the best way to learn. You know, books can only tell you so much. You actually have to physically experience something or see the effect that it has on somebody's body as well. I think to really learn from it.
Yeah, the practicality is the most important thing. Knowledge is essential. You need knowledge. You have
Yeah,
to be able to apply it. If you can
yeah,
apply it, it becomes 10 times more valuable.
that's true. So when did you actually start BodyByO?
I actually started because I was training people. I competed all the way up until 95, I think was my last show. So I competed for about 13, 14 years.
Right.
And over that stretch, I was basically just working with people that I was, when I was training, they become training partners. That was it. And one of the jobs I was working at when I moved to California had closed its business. So actually a friend of mine who was training with me was like, "You really need to get into training. It's what you do. It's what you're good at."
Yeah.
And so Timmy was like, "Yeah." At that time, everything was Body by Jake, and Timmy was like, "You could be Body by O," And it just sort of stuck.
It's much
One
catchier.
where people him hear it and they're like, "What's up, Body by O? What's up?"
Yeah.
So kind of it stuck to the meat on the bones type thing. And that was in early 90s, like 90, 91, up in that time frame. Then I
Mhm.
started to work with, and at that time there was only men's bodybuilding and women's bodybuilding. Then fitness came along
Right.
and
Yeah.
figure came along, and so I just started gravitating out. The more things came in, then I
Mm.
just started gravitating out and doing more things. And so fitness come in, so I was like, okay, I'll train fitness. And then figure, okay, I'll train figure. And I just, yeah, spreading out, to where it's at now. But it
I know.
started in the early 90s, back around the 90, 91. That's when I kind of formulated, because I moved to California in 86.
Right.
And 80 is when I mean, 90 is when I first broke away and said, okay, I'll do personal training. I was working at a Gold's Gym here in town. And I said, okay, I'll break away. I'll do personal one-on-one training, and I'll train
Yeah.
somebody for shows every now and then, just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
And it just, once within 2 months of going, okay, I'll do it, I'll give it a shot, I had a full clientele base. And then it just kept growing. So I let it grow.
Well, I mean that's testament to your skills really and how you are as a coach. So what do you enjoy most about coaching and what do you enjoy the least?
Well, the most enjoyable part's the personal interaction,
Yeah.
because you're personally involved in a lot of people's lives and changing their lives. So at first you're so goal oriented about, just it was so dominant to athletes, that then when I started opening up and doing everyday people, your scope opens up a little bit, because a lot of people out there never want to step on a stage. They just want to be healthy. They want to look good. It's why I took the medical route on my certifications, because I wanted
Right.
to know medically more. I wanted to know about eating disorders. I wanted to know about female hormones. I wanted to know all the medical aspects. One of my clients was the team physician for the Chargers at the time. And so he was an ACSM fellow, and I just sort of put my caboose right behind him and just kind of followed him through the medical route, because I wanted to learn. I wanted to
Yeah.
go see what surgeries look like, orthopedic surgeries on shoulders, on elbows, on knees, and learn about how things affect the body. And so the rewarding part is what you can do to help people change the direction in their life, to get them to better places, to be happier and safer. The
Mm.
challenging part sometimes is not allowing yourself to be frustrated when everything doesn't go as you want it to, because just like as clients can get frustrated, trainers can get frustrated, and you can't
Yeah.
do that. You can't go there, because you're a light socket. As a trainer, you are a human light socket, and people plug in all day long to you for energy. So you have to make sure that you never allow yourself to fall back and get frustrated because a certain thing, you have to look for solutions. And so
Mm.
that's the most challenging part of what you do. It's like, okay, I have to stay on point and motivated and look for change to get people when they do get stuck, get them away from being stuck.
Yeah. Well, I can say this because I'm coached by you. But I think that's the unique thing about you. I mean, obviously you have these years of experience and knowledge, and I think it's beautiful that you really want to share your knowledge with everyone as well. But it's more that you have this side that really understands how athletes feel, and that obviously, like you're saying, that things don't always go to plan, or and it might be a mental or a physical thing, but I think you're very approachable, and for everything that you have achieved, I never feel like you, I can't ask you anything, or that there's an ego attached to that, and I really don't think that there's many coaches that are like that. So yeah.
You learn, you learn from past mistakes, you learn from things that you've done, and you have to be humble. You have to be willing to listen, because believe I did a survey, I want to say 2 years ago, something like that, a year ago, 2 years ago. I did a survey where I asked hard questions. What do you like about my programs? What do you like about how our office do we? And yeah, there's a lot of things come back that most people would look at and get pissed off, want to rip it up. That you can't do that. You got to look at it and go, what's the relevancy? Is it relevant? Is what this person's saying? And if it is relevant, then you have to make change so that that person gets what they need. So you got to always take a hard look at yourself, and I'll be the first one to say I've gone through my years of change where I had to do things differently, or I had to choose different paths of how I was doing things, because you can't fall into that pit of not being understanding and not listening. And you have to take humility into play, because you got to listen to what the feedback is and what people need to be able to deliver, to them the kind of things that they need to get to where they need to get to.
Yeah, that's true. um have you ever had clients that you feel like you can't work with them?
Um, you I've had situations where, I just didn't know if the mentalities were going to work. You
Mm,
know, it- I always preface everything by saying there's not a right or wrong way. There are just different ways of doing things. So there's been clients that I know they needed something different, whether it was in the nutrition, or they, whether it was more one-on. Some people just need a trainer who is there all the time.
yeah.
And you would be in a situation, it's like, you know what, you really need to find a local trainer that you can go into, not that they can't do it any better or any worse. Not about that. It's about needing that one-on-one connection where
Mm,
to be with somebody every day, because that's what motivates them. And then there's others that don't need that. They only need to speak to someone once a week or twice a week, or get the little plugins because they're okay. They get the motivation end of it. They love what they do. They get in there. They need guidance. They need guidance and structure and the
yeah.
right formula to put them into, to catapult them into success. So there's been situations where I've recommended to people, I think it might be better if you try a different situation, and then they've tried and that wasn't, and they came back, said, no, you're right, this is what, so it's just it's about trying to find the best fit for
Mm,
everybody, because not every situation is going to be a perfect situation. Everything you do is going to have pluses and minuses. You just
yeah.
want pluses than minuses.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. um okay, so for somebody who wants to do well in this sport, what would you say is most important? Would you say genetics or work ethic is more
No,
important?
because you can work through genetics. You can
Okay.
you can take, let's say, light genetics or moderate genetics, and make the body be good despite some of the
Mm,
genetic structural things that need to be worked on. It's about work ethic. It's about
Yeah.
what are you willing to do to get to where you need to get to? How are you willing to work hard? Are you willing to put the time in? Are you willing to sacrifice, with certain, and again, everything to, not to an extreme, not to
Mm,
where you're sacrificing life or whatever, but are you willing to put the time into the gym, the time into cardio, be structured on nutrition? Are you willing to give it 110%? To be able
yeah.
to try to reach your goals, to be the absolute best you can be. If you have that kind of determination and you have that kind of, willpower to put the best of what you have, bring that to the table, you can accomplish anything you want. So
Yeah.
it's all about desire. It's all about what's in your heart to get to where you want to get to.
Yeah. No, of course. Um, so with the divisions, I mean, obviously the look changes with each division over the years. What would you say that your favorite look for the bikini division has been over the years?
Hmm. It's hard because I've seen it change so much. I actually trained the very first bikini champion, Olympia champion, Sonia Gonzalez,
Yeah.
and she was the first. She was actually figure, but she was a smaller figure athlete. She wasn't a big
Yeah.
figure athlete. Very feminine, very good structure, pretty girl,
Mm.
and that was back when it almost looked like beach. It
Yeah.
was
Yes, it
athletic,
did. Yeah.
but it was a softer, curvier, very feminine physique. And I've
Mm.
watched it go from there over the years. It gravitated through all the different champions that has been out there. You know, I personally like the athletic style. So the
Yeah.
athletic style that Angelica Teixeira carries, the athletic style that, Janet is athletic but different. It's a
Mm.
longer line athleticism, uh,
Yeah.
as Angelica is that little more compact, a little more, true athlete style look. I love Angelica's looks. I have always loved her looks. And I thought the look she put up at this past Arnold was as good of a look as what I thought was out there. That
Oh,
being
yeah.
said, I think Issa is a very deserving champion.
Yeah.
And I think her look was a very good look. It's just what like you said, it's a personal preference. What do you I
Yeah.
prefer that very balanced look, that fuller look, the athleticism, but not over, not where it gets too muscular, but that
Mm.
basic balance, that balance between top to bottom, front to back, femininity to lean muscle tissue, stage presence. When you have that package that's got like all those things involved, it's very attractive, I think, and it draws your eye lines into it. But
Yeah.
uh,
I agree.
but there have been a lot of deserving champions over the year. There's been a lot of looks that have been some athletes like India Polino. I admired India for years, not so much because I thought she had I just loved her energy, stage
Yeah, she's brilliant.
energy.
Yeah.
I would just like, she come out, I'd just be like, oh my God, that girl just got swagger about her. And it
Yeah.
just drew you in. You just looked in, you just liked it, and it's kind of where your mind just sort of went to. So I've admired a lot of different ones, a lot of different physiques over the years. And, but the athletic style physique, and where there's still a lot of femininity there, but
Yeah.
there's an athleticism to it. That's my favorite style.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously we want to look feminine and womanly, but we are bodybuilding as well. We're not in a
Right.
model contest, so we need muscle, and that's
Yeah,
what's nice
it's
about
that balance. It's that balance of, okay, that structure's, balanced. It's feminine. It's got good glutes. It's got a little waistline. It's got good structure, but it's still got a lot of femininity to it.
it. Yeah.
It can be done. It can work well with photo shoots. It can be, one of the things I used to always tell everybody, I have a wall back there that I got to finish, but I've had, as of now, I think it's 62 clients that have been on the covers of magazines, and
Wow.
they have been figure, bikini, fitness. It's been that whole genre.
Yeah.
And fact that my athletes so many of the girls did so well on stage, but did so well in print. That was something that I really, really loved about what we could do. And it
Yeah.
was one of the accomplishments I felt very good about.
Okay. Actually, that leads me on to, what are you most proud of in your career?
Just, the individual accolades are nice. The number of Olympias you win, the number of Arnolds you win, how many girls you turn pro, the number of athletes you've worked with, how many girls have you put on an Olympia stage. Those they're personal goals for me. And I've set kind of different kind of goals every year. Could I put, one year I put somebody in every division on the Olympia stage except men's bodybuilding. I didn't
Wow.
have a male bodybuilder. It was just not my cup of tea. It's
No.
not, my knowledge level's not there. That's just not my cup of tea. But I had every other division. I had an athlete in there. There was, I think, five: women's bodybuilding, women's physique, figure, fitness, men's physique, and bikini. And
Wow.
so it's like I just wanted to try. For some reason, I was like, I want to see if I can put somebody in like almost every division, just so that people get an idea that I can go anywhere around the spectrum. I
Yeah.
was just known for one thing. I was known, okay, I could do all this stuff. And, so things like that, there are personal achievements that you try to put out there, but as you get older, I think you kind of change. And now it's the most important thing to me now is my clients' personal success,
Mm.
where they go to, and helping them achieve things, whether it's pro cards or whether it's losing 40 pounds or whatever. It's things they never thought they could have accomplished, and
Yeah.
doing things that now it's doing things that are like unique, and it's like, oh my God, yeah, look at what you've accomplished, look at what you've done. And it's very rewarding, to be a part of those journeys and be a part of those changes, not so much about my personal stuff, but helping my athletes and my people to get to personal accomplishments, help them to reach personal best achievements. And then I feel, I kind of tally on to the back of that.
I really, really liked how you were saying on your last IG live, that you've had a lot of women become pregnant when they were on prep or after prep and stuff like that, because I think, that's a big thing to be looking out for the health of your athletes all the time. And I think that's quite an accomplishment, really, because I know you kind of, when you want to win, you kind of will just do anything. And I think, there is a lot of coaches who will piggyback on that a little bit and push people a bit, past the point, really. So I kind of think keeping someone as healthy when they're competing is just as much of an accomplishment as them winning as well, really.
Yeah, well, it's a line in the sand. You have to draw your line in the sand and what you do and where you take people. But we had a baby boom. I mean, I had Chrissy Chin actually won a show in Sacramento, and
Yeah.
it's like I kept telling her, I've never seen you hold weight like this before. You need to go get your hormones checked. She came back like 4 days later. Yeah, well, I'm pregnant. So she was like 6 weeks pregnant when
Wow.
she won the show. It was funny. I had another girl that had gotten pregnant and wanted to do the show anyway. She found out like 2 weeks before the show. So I told her, said, okay, we can do the show, but we do it my way. No
Yeah.
water pills, no chemicals, no caffeine, no nothing. We keep your system perfectly clean. And if you're agreement with that, then she went on 1 overall.
Wow.
So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
One of the things.
Right. Quick fire questions. What is your favorite guilty pleasure food?
Cookies.
Yeah, I thought you might say
Yeah, I could eat
that.
cookies. I could have a cookie every hour. With with hence why all the girls bring me cookies all day long when we're at shows.
What was your favorite stage pose? when you were competing?
Well, I don't know if I could say this, but I used to love to do abs. Loved abs. And so that became like my favorite stage pose, my ab shot. But then you learn how to make it become more symmetrical. Well, I remember the very first show I did, they were giving out body parts. And the only trophy I won, I placed second, I think, in the show.
Yeah.
And the only trophy I won was best abs. And my mom thought that they said best ass.
You should have been in the bikini class.
So I had to kind of like straighten that whole thing out. So then I backed off the ab stuff because like, okay, mom thinks I'm in the wrong type show stuff. But yeah, I enjoyed symmetrical posing. All my posing routines were all Lee Labrada style posing, or Frank Zane style posing, very symmetrical. I was classic men's physique before there was classic men's physique, because that was just that was the style. But I loved the classical style poses, the symmetrical style posing.
Perfect. Right, last one before you run out of time. Do you have a greatest of all time bodybuilder?
Probably the guy I admired most, probably Lee Haney. Only because he kind of reshaped the structure of bodybuilding. Because before that it was mainly Arnold. Obviously brought a whole nother look to the sport, and but then Haney morphed it and changed it and made it become more symmetrical and more of a balance between the muscle and symmetry and shape. And so he kind of was that bridge from Arnold to Ronnie, where it's like, Ronnie's that just massive guy with this smaller waistline, genetic freak. And Arnold was the transformation out of the early styles, of a little more blocky to a bigger guy with nice, round muscle bellies and a small waistline. So guys like Lee, and guys like Lee Labrada, Frank Zane, their structures were just so pretty to look at. They enthralled you, because they weren't the mass guys, but they just had such beautiful lines to their structure.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you, Kim, for everything. Are you still taking on clients if people are interested and they want to get in contact? Always.
Always taking on. Someone asked me the other day, how do you know how to limit? It just sort of limits itself. I've been at the same number of clients for like the last 10 years, honestly, and I don't monitor it. It just sort of monitors itself. And so I'm, obviously right now we're in a bridge area with waiting for shows to come back, but we're always taking on new clientele base. People can reach me through bodybyo.com, and my office staff will be happy to answer any questions that they have, with setting up appointments and, which we do a lot of Skype. Nowadays with working with so many athletes, in the UK, in all of Europe, South America, Asia, the clientele base has spread out all over the world. Yeah. But Skype, it's a blessing. You can do so much stuff.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. I agree. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, Kim. And,
very well. Thank you.
We'll catch you soon. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.